Hi guys, Miss King here again, and in this screencast we're going to look at anaerobic respiration. So if we take a look at our word bites, an is a prefix that means without, and remember air means oxygen, so for anaerobic respiration, oxygen is not required. This process, another name for anaerobic respiration, is fermentation. And fermentation is the process of releasing energy from our food, just like cellular respiration. Only thing that's different is that we're going to have no oxygen present. Now, no oxygen is present, so glycolysis is going to take place, and it's going to be followed by a different process. So fermentation is just glycolysis that has something different happen. Instead of going into the mitochondria, the compounds are going to stay in the cytoplasm. This is not as good of a process as cell respiration, and the reason is because it makes less ATP. In fact, it makes a lot less ATP than cellular respiration. And then there's two pathways or two types of fermentation that we're going to look at. So we're always going to start with glycolysis. That's going to be the first thing that happens. So let's go ahead and put glycolysis right here. Now let's go ahead and divide two different pathways. The first pathway that can occur is a way that we can create alcohol plus carbon dioxide and NAD pluses. We know we can use those for energy carriers. The second one, we're going to create lactic acid and also NAD plus. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at our two different examples. We're going to look at them one at a time. The first type that we looked at is called alcoholic fermentation. I'm actually going to change my pen just a little bit here. All right, and so up here we're going to put alcoholic fermentation. All right, and alcoholic fermentation is a form of anaerobic respiration that uses yeast to form alcohol and ATP. So we're going to, let's put right here, it uses yeast to form alcohol and ATP. Okay. And this can also take place in bacteria. So let's add that. Some bacteria can do this. Now, you might recognize this as or maybe recognize it better as the process that's used in making beer, wine, and bread. Okay, so alcoholic fermentation is going to be used to make these items. So if we take a look here, this is glycolysis, just like we saw in our aerobic respiration video. We're going to split our 6-carbon compound into 2 3-carbon compounds. Okay. We're gonna use 2 ATPs, and we're gonna make some. We're gonna make 2 ATPs. I wrote that wrong. I apologize for that. As you would say, my bad. Okay, here we're gonna make 2 ATPs. I'm sorry, we're going from ADP to ATP, and we're also gonna make 2 NADHs. All right, so we're going to make 2 NADHs there. Now, once we have our pyruvic acid, over here, since there's no mitochondria, there's no oxygen, we're going to go ahead and release some carbon dioxides here. There's our 2 carbon dioxides. And we're going to take these 2 NAD pluses, we're going to use them, And this is how we're going to get our alcohol, which is called ethanol. We're going to use the two NADHs. Now, when we do that, this NAD plus, the used up NADH, the energy carrier, it can actually come back over here to the beginning, and that's going to be what keeps this process going, okay? Reusing those NAD pluses. And that is how fermentation, alcoholic fermentation, can be a continuous cycle for things like yeast and bacteria. Now, we can do fermentation in our bodies as well, but we're not going to make alcohol. We're going to do a different kind of fermentation. We're going to come down here and put that one as our second example, and it's called lactic acid fermentation. Okay, so this is the type of fermentation that happens inside your body. And basically, what's going to happen is accumulated pyruvate, or the pyruvic acid, it's going to be converted into what's called lactic acid. So let's go ahead and put that. Accumulated pyruvate is converted into lactic acid. Okay, and of course we're going to make ATPs. All right, and this process occurs in the muscles, in your muscle tissue. Okay, and we'll put in parentheses, this is in animals. Okay, so again, our glycolysis process, we're going to split our 6-carbon glucose into 2 3-carbon glucoses that are called pyruvic acids. Again, we're going to make our 2 ATPs, so there's our 2 ATPs that we're getting. We're going to make the NADH again. So here's our pyruvic acid. Because there's no mitochondria for our pyruvic acid to enter, there's no oxygen, so it can't get inside the mitochondria. We're going to convert the pyruvic acid into lactic acid, which is also a 3-carbon compound. And we're going to take this NAD plus, and we can keep reusing it over and over again. So this is what keeps the cycle going. Now, this would sustain you for a very short period of time. Okay, we need a whole lot more than 2 ATPs to be produced from our food at a time. So this would be something that you could use very short term, temporarily, like when you hold your breath underwater, or if you're running in a track meet and your body is using energy faster than it can make. So it's a process that it works short term, but definitely not long term for animals. By the way, whenever you, like if you do run a track meet or a basketball game or something like that, and you get really tired and winded, you run out of breath, that's because your body's not getting enough oxygen, and it's having to do this process of glycolysis for your energy instead of cellular respiration or aerobic respiration. And because you're collecting that lactic acid in the process, this is what causes you to have really sore muscles the next day. So if you go work out really hard and you wear yourself out and you run out of oxygen and you're breathing real hard, and the next day you wake up and you're really sore, it's because you have lots of lactic acid accumulated in your muscles. So this is actually counterproductive to what you want to do when you're trying to build muscles, because acid is going to tear down your muscles instead of build them up. Okay, so start slow and build up to where you want to be instead of trying to jump right into an exercise routine, because you'll be counterproductive in what you want to do. All right, and this is fermentation, or what we call anaerobic respiration. It's just a temporary way for animals to make some quick energy when cellular respiration is not possible. All right, and be ready to discuss in class. See you then.